I wouldn't pay for this garbage even if you paid me, the blonde customer announced, shoving her plate away. And you, with that awful attitude, should be fired. Kayla, the waitress, stood there holding her tray, her face pale with humiliation. Ma'am, I can get you something else, she began. I want your job. That's what I want, the woman snapped. At the kitchen door, a famous chef watched the scene, his eyes narrowing as he thought for a moment and removed his apron. But before we see him step out of the kitchen, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into the full story. This customer just left a $100 tip on a $200 bill, Kayla Johnson whispered, staring at the receipt in her hand. That's half my rent money right there. Sarah Thompson, the restaurant manager, smiled as she organized menus behind the host stand. You deserve it, Kayla. Nobody works harder than you. The elegant interior of the harvest table glowed with warm light as evening settled over downtown Boston. White tablecloths, polished silverware, and crystal glasses sparkled throughout the dining room. At 4 stars, it was one of the most prestigious restaurants in the city, where wealthy patrons paid premium prices for innovative cuisine. In a quiet corner, 3 identical 6-year-old boys sat at a small table, heads bent over coloring books and homework. Mason, the most observant, carefully traced letters in his workbook. Miles, the creative one, transformed his spelling worksheet into an elaborate doodle. Max, analytical and precise, counted math problems on his fingers. Mom, can I have another apple juice? Miles called, holding up his empty glass. Inside voice, sweetheart, Kayla replied, tucking the valuable tip into her apron pocket. I'll bring it in 2 minutes. Kayla moved through the restaurant with practiced efficiency. At 32, her brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. Her uniform pressed perfectly despite being 3 years old. She balanced 4 plates along her arm as she delivered entrees to a table of business executives. The seared scallops with citrus reduction, she announced, placing each dish with precision. The herb-crusted lamb, medium rare, the wild mushroom risotto, and the roasted duck with cherry glaze. This looks amazing, a woman in a business suit remarked. Kayla smiled. Enjoy your meal, I'll check back shortly. As she headed to get juice for Miles, Kayla glanced at her watch. 3 more hours until her shift ended. Then she would take the boys home to their small 2-bedroom apartment in a modest neighborhood 20 minutes away. Tomorrow she would start again with her morning shift at the local diner, followed by online data entry work during the boys' school hours and back to the harvest table by 4. In the kitchen, Chef Michael Anderson examined a plate before it left for service. His tall frame bent over the counter as he adjusted a garnish with tweezers. More sauce on the left side, he instructed a line cook, and make sure the temperature is exactly 132 degrees on the next one. At 34, Michael had achieved what many chefs only dreamed of, his own successful restaurant after years of training in Europe. His dark hair showed hints of silver at the temples, and his intense green eyes missed no detail. Chef, Table 7 sent compliments, Tony Martinez, the sous chef, reported. They said it's the best meal they've had in Boston. Michael nodded without looking up. Good. Let's keep it that way for every table. He had returned to Boston just last year after achieving culinary fame abroad. Opening the harvest table had been his dream, creating a place where his innovative cooking could shine. What no one knew was that he had chosen this location partly because of old memories. 7 years ago, before his career took off, he had lived nearby with a woman he once loved. Kayla entered the kitchen for Miles's juice, keeping her head down. Though she had worked at the harvest table for 3 years, she avoided direct interaction with Chef Michael whenever possible. She filled a glass from the beverage station and hurried back to the dining room. Sarah intercepted her near the bar. Staff meeting in 5 minutes. Rebecca Wilson is coming tonight. Kayla froze. The real estate developer? The one from that reality show? The very same. She's arriving at 8 with 6 guests. Management wants everyone prepared. What table? 7, center of the dining room. Kayla nodded. I'm not on that section tonight, right? Sarah grimaced. Actually, you are now. Jason called in sick, so you're covering his tables plus yours. But the boys? I know, I'm sorry. We need our best server for Wilson. Her husband owns half the commercial real estate downtown, and she's friends with every food critic in New England. Kayla sighed. I understand. She delivered the juice to Miles, then knelt beside the triplets' table. Boys, I need to take care of some very important customers tonight. Can you be extra good for a few more hours? Mason looked up from his homework. Is something wrong, Mom? No, sweetheart. Just a busy night. If you finish your homework, you can each have dessert later. The staff gathered quickly near the host stand. Sarah stood at the front with a tablet in hand. Rebecca Wilson arrives in 30 minutes. She's been to every top restaurant in Boston and has complained about something at each one. She's influential on social media and has over 2 million followers. Michael joined the group, wiping his hands on a towel. What's her usual order pattern? She typically orders the most expensive items, Sarah replied. She drinks expensive wine but sends back the first bottle regardless of quality, and she takes photos of everything for her social media. Fine, Michael said. We treat her like any other guest. Perfect service, perfect food, no special treatment beyond our standard excellence. The staff dispersed and Kayla returned to her section to prepare for the coming storm. She checked each table setting twice, made sure water glasses were filled precisely 3/4 full, and reviewed the evening specials one more time. At exactly 8 o'clock, the front doors opened. Rebecca Wilson entered like she owned the place. At 45, she was impeccably dressed in designer clothing, her blonde hair styled perfectly. 5 friends followed her, plus a man Kayla recognized as Rebecca's assistant who constantly checked his phone. Ms. Wilson, welcome to the harvest table, Sarah greeted with a professional smile. Your table is ready. Rebecca surveyed the restaurant with critical eyes. This lighting is too dim. How is anyone supposed to see their food properly? Sarah maintained her smile. We'd be happy to adjust the lighting at your table if you prefer. Rebecca waved her hand dismissively and followed Sarah to table 7, where Kayla waited with menus. Good evening, Kayla said warmly. My name is Kayla, and I'll be your server tonight. Rebecca barely glanced at her. We'll start with your most expensive champagne. And not too cold. Americans always serve champagne too cold. Certainly. Would you like to hear about our specials this evening? No need. Just send your sommelier over immediately. Kayla nodded and headed to the wine station. From across the room, she could see her sons watching curiously. Mason whispered something to his brothers, and they all turned to look at Rebecca's table. In the kitchen, Michael supervised the preparation of every dish. Rebecca Wilson ordered the tasting menu with premium additions, Kayla informed the expeditor. She requested the sea bass as her main course. Michael overheard. I'll prepare the sea bass myself. 45 minutes later, Kayla carried the sea bass to table 7. The delicate fish rested on a bed of saffron-infused risotto, topped with microgreens and surrounded by a rich reduction sauce. At $75, it was the most expensive item on the menu. Ms. Wilson, your sea bass, Kayla announced, placing the plate carefully before her. Rebecca examined the dish with obvious skepticism. She lifted her fork, cut a small piece, and raised it to her mouth. The entire table watched as she took her first bite. Rebecca's expression darkened. She set down her fork with a clatter that silenced nearby conversations. Is something wrong? Kayla asked politely. Rebecca Wilson looked directly at Kayla, her eyes cold with contempt. Wrong? This food is absolute trash, she declared loudly. I wouldn't feed this garbage to a stray dog. Kayla felt her heart sink as the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. This is completely unacceptable, Rebecca Wilson said, her voice growing louder with each word. She pushed the plate away dramatically. This food is absolute trash. The dining room fell silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Every eye in the harvest table turned toward table 7. Kayla kept her voice calm. "I'm very sorry the sea bass isn't to your liking, Ms. Wilson. I'd be happy to bring you something else from our menu." "Something else?" Rebecca stood up, pointing at her plate. "I wouldn't feed this garbage to a stray dog. Who prepared this? I want them fired immediately." Other diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some pretended to focus on their meals, while others openly stared at the unfolding drama. "I assure you our chef personally prepared your dish," Kayla said. "Perhaps there was a misunderstanding about how you prefer your fish cooked." Rebecca's face flushed red. "The only misunderstanding is that this restaurant thinks it deserves 4 stars. And you?" She jabbed a finger toward Kayla's chest. "You're completely incompetent. I want to speak to the owner right now." In the corner of the restaurant, Mason, Miles, and Max watched with wide eyes. Mason grabbed his brother's hands under their table. "Why is that lady yelling at Mom?" Miles whispered. "I don't know," Mason replied, "but Mom looks upset." Max's small face hardened. She shouldn't talk to Mom like that. In the kitchen, the commotion drew attention. Chef Michael Anderson heard Rebecca's raised voice through the swinging doors. He moved to the service window and peered into the dining room. "What's happening out there?" Michael asked Tony, his sous chef. Tony looked through the window. "Some woman is causing a scene. Looks like she's attacking Kayla." Michael froze when he spotted Kayla standing at table 7. Her face, though professionally composed, showed the strain of maintaining dignity under attack. It had been 7 years, but he recognized her instantly. "Kayla," he whispered. The name felt both foreign and familiar on his lips. 7 years ago, before his career took him to Paris, they had shared 6 passionate months together. He'd left to study under a master chef, promising to return, but the opportunity expanded into more prestigious positions. Weeks turned to months, and eventually, he stopped calling. His career consumed everything. "You know her?" Tony asked, noticing Michael's expression. Before Michael could answer, his eyes moved to the corner table where 3 small boys sat watching the scene. 3 identical boys with the same facial structure, the same sharp jawline and high cheekbones that Michael saw in his mirror every morning. Most striking of all, the same distinctive green eyes that had been passed down through generations of his family. Michael's mind raced with calculations. 7 years ago, the boys looked about 6 years old. The timing aligned perfectly with when he left for Paris. "Those children," Michael said quietly. "The triplets in the corner. They're watching Kayla." Tony glanced at the boys. "Yeah, they're her sons. They sit there every night while she works. Good kids, never cause any trouble." He turned back to the scene in the dining room. "Boss, that's Rebecca Wilson making a scene. Her husband owns half the commercial real estate downtown. She knows every food critic in Boston. We can't afford to make an enemy of her." Michael barely heard him. He couldn't take his eyes off the boys. His sons. They had to be his sons. In the dining room, Rebecca continued her attack. "This restaurant is a joke. I'll make sure everyone in Boston knows not to waste their money here." Sarah Thompson, the restaurant manager, hurried to table 7. Her face was professional but concerned. "Miss Wilson, I sincerely apologize for your disappointment. Perhaps I can offer you our chef's special tasting menu on the house?" Rebecca turned her glare toward Sarah. "I don't want free food. I want consequences. That waitress needs to be fired, and I'll be writing a review that will ensure everyone knows what kind of establishment this really is." She pulled out her phone and began taking photos of the sea bass. "This is going on my social media right now. 2 million followers will see what garbage you serve here." Kayla stepped back, her hands trembling slightly. She had 3 boys to support. This job paid their rent, bought their food, covered their health care. She couldn't lose it. "Excuse me for a moment," she said quietly. backing away from table 7. In the kitchen, Kayla took a deep breath. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she noticed Michael staring at her. Their eyes met for the first time in 7 years. Michael saw the recognition in her face, followed quickly by something else: panic. She immediately turned away and grabbed an order for another table. Tony approached Michael. "You need to handle this. Now. We've got reservations booked for months. We can't let her destroy our reputation." Michael barely heard him, still processing the revelation. He had children, 3 sons he never knew existed, and Kayla, the woman he'd left behind, had been working in his restaurant for 3 years without his knowledge. Sarah burst through the kitchen doors. "Michael, she's demanding to speak with you. She's threatening to call every food critic in her contacts list." Michael nodded slowly, his mind still reeling. "I'll speak with her." "Be careful," Sarah warned. "Her husband is Jacob Wilson. Their company owns dozens of commercial buildings downtown, including the one next door." Michael removed his chef's coat, revealing a crisp, white button-down shirt underneath. He ran his fingers through his hair and straightened his collar. "Tony, take over the kitchen," he instructed. Tony nodded. "What are you going to do?" "Whatever it takes to protect my restaurant," Michael replied. "And my family," he added silently. As Michael pushed through the kitchen doors, he caught Kayla's eye again. She was balancing 3 plates for another table, maintaining her professionalism despite the humiliation she'd just endured. The strength in her gaze struck him. She'd raised 3 children on her own while he built his career and reputation abroad. The triplets watched him with curious eyes as he walked across the dining room. Did they know about him? Had Kayla told them anything about their father? Rebecca Wilson was still standing at table 7, her phone in hand, her dining companions looking uncomfortable beside her. "You must be the owner," she said when she spotted Michael approaching. "Finally decided to face your customers?" Michael kept his face neutral. "Ms. Wilson, I'm Michael Anderson, owner and executive chef of the Harvest Table." "Your food is disgusting, and your service is worse," Rebecca declared loudly. "That waitress should be fired immediately." Michael could feel the eyes of every guest on him. He could see Kayla delivering plates to another table, her back straight, her hands steady despite everything. He could see his sons watching from their corner table, 3 pairs of identical green eyes, his eyes observing intently. In that moment, Michael made a decision that would change everything. "Ms. Wilson," he said calmly, "I'd like to invite you to join me in the kitchen to see exactly how your dish was prepared." Rebecca blinked in surprise. This clearly wasn't the response she expected. "I don't need a cooking lesson," she said. "I need you to fire that incompetent waitress." Michael smiled slightly. "That waitress has served in this restaurant with impeccable professionalism for 3 years. I stand by every member of my staff, and I stand by every dish that leaves my kitchen." The restaurant remained silent, everyone watching the confrontation. "Do you know who I am?" Rebecca asked, her voice dangerous. "Yes," Michael replied evenly. "You're someone dining in my restaurant, and I'd be happy to demonstrate how we prepare our food. Or you can leave. Your choice." The silence in the dining room grew heavier. Kayla paused near the kitchen, watching the exchange with disbelief. Her sons leaned forward in their chairs, captivated by the drama unfolding before them. Rebecca studied Michael's face, searching for any sign of weakness. Finding none, she picked up her purse. "Fine. Show me this so-called cooking process of yours, but this changes nothing about my opinion of your restaurant or that waitress." As Michael gestured toward the kitchen doors, he glanced again at the triplets in the corner. One of them, he couldn't tell which one, gave him a small, curious smile. Michael felt a strange tightness in his chest. Those boys were his sons, and he was determined to protect them and their mother, no matter what it took. Michael led the way toward the kitchen, aware that every person in the dining room watched them. As they walked between the tables, Michael deliberately chose a path that would take them past the corner where 3 identical boys sat wide-eyed. "Hello there," Michael said as he approached the triplets' table. He smiled warmly at them. The boys looked up at him with matching green eyes. His eyes. "Hi," one of them replied cautiously. "Are you the chef?" another asked. Michael nodded. "Yes, I am. My name is Michael. What are your names?" "I'm Mason," said the first boy who had spoken. "I'm Miles," said the second. The third boy, who hadn't spoken yet, studied Michael's face carefully. "I'm Max," he finally said. "It's very nice to meet you all," Michael said, his voice gentle. "Your mom is one of the most important people in this restaurant. I hope you know how special she is." The triplets exchanged glances with each other, a silent communication passing between them. Rebecca Wilson cleared her throat loudly. "Excuse me, I didn't agree to a tour of the restaurant." Michael straightened up. "Of course. This way, Miss Wilson." As they continued toward the kitchen, Michael noticed Kayla watching the interaction, her face a mix of surprise and concern. He gave her a small nod of reassurance before pushing through the swinging doors. The kitchen staff paused momentarily as Michael entered with Rebecca. Tony, the sous chef, raised his eyebrows in question. "Everyone, please continue your work," Michael announced. "Ms. Wilson would like to see how we prepare our sea bass dish." The kitchen returned to its controlled rhythm, knives chopping, pans sizzling, plates being arranged with precision. "This is the heart of the harvest table," Michael said to Rebecca. "Every dish is prepared with care using only the finest ingredients." Rebecca looked unimpressed. "Just show me what was wrong with my fish." Michael moved to a clean workstation. "Tony, please bring a fresh sea bass." Tony brought over a beautiful whole fish on ice. Other staff members continued their tasks, but their attention was clearly divided between their work and the unusual scene unfolding. "First, notice the clarity of the eyes and the bright red gills," Michael explained. "These indicate absolute freshness. We receive our seafood delivery twice daily from the Boston Pier." "I didn't come for a lecture," Rebecca said. "You came for the truth about our food," Michael replied calmly. "I'm giving you that." At the kitchen entrance, several diners had gathered to watch. Word had spread through the restaurant about the confrontation, and curiosity had drawn them from their tables. Michael skillfully filleted the fish with precise movements. The sea bass is first portioned, then seasoned with our house blend of sea salt, white pepper, and herbs. He heated a pan with olive oil until it shimmered. The temperature must be exact. Too hot and the delicate flesh will toughen, too cool and it won't develop the proper crust. More diners crowded around the kitchen doorway, phones out to record the impromptu demonstration. Rebecca noticed them and straightened her posture. "Is this a show for your audience?" she asked. "This is exactly how we prepare every sea bass dish that leaves this kitchen," Michael answered. "Nothing special for you, nothing different for any guest." He placed the fish in the pan with a satisfying sizzle. The aroma of fresh herbs and butter filled the air. "While the fish cooks, we prepare the saffron reduction," Michael continued, moving to another burner where Tony had set up the ingredients. Spanish saffron, imported weekly, steeped in white wine and chicken stock, then reduced slowly. Rebecca watched, arms crossed. "It still doesn't explain why my dish tasted terrible." "That's interesting," Michael said, turning the fish with care. "Because this is precisely how your dish was prepared less than 30 minutes ago." From the doorway, a woman in elegant evening wear spoke up. "We had the sea bass tonight too. It was absolutely delicious." Several other diners nodded in agreement. "Best fish I've ever had in Boston," an older gentleman added. Rebecca's eyes narrowed at the unexpected support for the restaurant. "Well, I found it inedible." Michael completed the plating of the new dish, the perfectly cooked sea bass resting on a bed of risotto, the saffron reduction drizzled artfully around the plate and fresh microgreens placed on top. "Here's a freshly prepared version of what you were served," Michael said, placing the plate on the counter between them. "Would you like to try it again?" Rebecca looked at the beautifully presented dish. then at the crowd of diners watching expectantly. "I still think it's overpriced garbage." A murmur ran through the onlookers. Michael nodded slowly. "Ms. Wilson, I've shown you our process and ingredients. I've offered alternatives. Now I must ask you to leave. The Harvest Table values respect for our food, our staff, and our guests. Your behavior tonight demonstrates none of these qualities." Rebecca's face flushed red. "You can't ask me to leave. Do you have any idea how many restaurants I could destroy with one social media post?" "That's your choice to make," Michael said evenly, "but not in my restaurant. Not tonight." He nodded to Mark, the security guard who stood near the kitchen entrance. "Please escort Miss Wilson and her party out." Mark stepped forward. "This way, ma'am." Rebecca grabbed her purse. "You'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone in Boston knows about this treatment." "Everyone in Boston just watched you refuse a reasonable resolution," Michael replied. "I'm comfortable with that." As Mark guided Rebecca through the dining room toward the exit, spontaneous applause broke out from the other diners. Several people stood, clapping as Rebecca and her party were escorted out. Michael returned to the dining room where the applause continued. He acknowledged it with a small nod, then walked directly to Kayla, who stood near her section looking stunned. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she said. "Thank you for that. Nobody speaks to my staff that way," Michael said. "Especially not you." Their eyes met, and 7 years of unspoken words hung between them. "Michael," Kayla began. "We should talk," he said, after closing. "If that's okay." Kayla glanced at her sons who were watching them curiously from their corner table. "Yes, we probably should." The restaurant gradually returned to normal. Conversations resumed, meals were finished, and the staff continued their work with a new energy. Michael returned to the kitchen, but his mind was no longer fully on the dishes being prepared. Throughout the rest of the evening, he found himself looking through the service window, watching Kayla as she moved efficiently between tables. He watched the triplets, his sons, as they completed their homework and occasionally looked up to find their mother in the busy restaurant. Near closing time, the triplets packed up their schoolwork. Kayla approached their table. "Ready to go home, boys?" she asked. "Mom, who was that man who talked to us?" Miles asked. Kayla hesitated. "That's Chef Michael. He owns the restaurant." "He has eyes like ours," Mason observed. Kayla's breath caught. "Yes, I suppose he does. Is he a friend of yours?" Max asked, his young face serious. "We knew each other a long time ago," Kayla answered carefully. "He was nice," Miles said. "He stood up for you when that mean lady was yelling." Kayla nodded. "Yes, he did." "Can we stay a little longer tonight?" Mason asked. "I want to say thank you to him." Kayla looked at her watch. "It's getting late and you have school tomorrow." "Please?" Miles pleaded. "Mrs. Rodriguez can take us home," Max suggested. "She said we could come over any time." Kayla considered this. Mrs. Rodriguez was their neighbor who often helped with the boys. "Let me call her and see if that's okay," Kayla decided. "I do need to talk to Chef Michael after we close." As the last customers left and the staff began cleaning, Michael emerged from the kitchen. He had removed his chef's coat and now wore a simple button-down shirt. He helped the busboys clear tables, occasionally glancing toward Kayla as she counted her tips at the server station. When the dining room was empty except for staff, Michael approached Kayla. "Are the boys gone?" he asked, looking toward their now empty table. "My neighbor took them home," Kayla said. "I told them I needed to talk to you." Michael nodded. "My office might be more private." They walked silently to the back of the restaurant, both aware of the curious glances from the remaining staff. Michael opened the door to a small but elegant office and gestured for Kayla to enter. As the door closed behind them, 7 years of separation and secrets filled the space between them. "The boys," Michael said finally. "They're mine, aren't they?" Kayla took a deep breath, looking directly into Michael's eyes. "Yes. Mason, Miles, and Max are yours." Michael sank into his office chair, running his hands through his hair. When did you find out? 3 weeks after you left for Paris, Kayla said. She remained standing, arms crossed protectively over her chest. I tried to call you. Your number was disconnected. I got a new French phone number when I arrived, Michael said quietly. I meant to send it to you, but things got so busy with training. I emailed you twice. Kayla's voice was steady, not accusatory. Then I looked for you on social media. Everything went dark. It was like you disappeared. Michael closed his eyes briefly. When I got to Paris, my mentor said I needed total focus. No distractions. I deleted my accounts temporarily. It was only supposed to be for a few months. But it turned into years, Kayla finished. I never knew, Michael whispered. Triplets, my sons. They're 6 years old? Yes. They were born on January 10th. Mason came first, then Miles 2 minutes later, and Max 3 minutes after that. Michael struggled to find words. All this time, you've been raising them alone, working multiple jobs, and for the past 3 years you've been here, in my restaurant. I didn't know it was your restaurant when I applied, Kayla explained. The manager, Sarah, hired me. The ad just said, fine dining establishment. When I started, you were still in Europe. By the time you returned last year, I needed this job too badly to leave. Why didn't you tell me when I came back? Michael asked. What would I have said? Welcome back, by the way. Those 3 identical boys in the corner are yours. Kayla shook her head. You never approached me. I assumed you saw me and chose to keep your distance. Michael stood up and paced the small office. I never saw you. Not until tonight. I'm in the kitchen most nights. I don't interact with the front of house staff much. That's what Sarah told me, Kayla said. She noticed me avoiding the kitchen. She thought I was afraid of you because you're known for being strict with the staff. A soft knock interrupted them. Tony opened the door slightly. Sorry, chef, but you need to see this. He handed Michael his phone. Michael looked at the screen. What is this? Someone recorded your interaction with Rebecca Wilson. It's already online, getting lots of views and comments. Michael handed the phone to Kayla. On the screen, a video showed Michael calmly standing up to Rebecca, defending his restaurant and staff. The clip ended with diners applauding as Rebecca was escorted out. Great, Kayla muttered. This is exactly what we need. More attention. Tony looked between them curiously. Is everything okay? It's fine, Tony, Michael said. Please finish closing up. I need more time with Kayla. After Tony left, Michael and Kayla watched the video again in silence. It'll blow over, Michael said, returning the phone to his desk. People will forget about it in a day or two. I hope so, Kayla said. She finally sat down in the chair opposite his desk. Michael, what happens now? Tell me about them, Michael said softly. Our sons. What are they like? A small smile touched Kayla's face. They're amazing. Mason is the observer. He notices everything, remembers details most kids his age would miss. Miles is creative, always drawing or making up stories. And Max is analytical. He counts everything, organizes his toys by size and color. They seem very well behaved, Michael said. They are. They've had to be. I couldn't afford childcare when they were babies, so I brought them to work with me. They learned to be quiet and occupy themselves. Michael winced. I should have been there. I should have helped you. You didn't know, Kayla said simply. Do they know about me? Michael asked. Kayla shook her head. They know their father lives far away. That's all. They stopped asking for details a couple years ago. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I've missed 6 years. Their first words, first steps, everything. They're still young, Kayla said. There's a lot more to come. I want to be part of their lives, Michael said firmly, if you'll allow it. It's not that simple, Michael. We can't just suddenly tell them you're their father. It would confuse them. Then we'll take it slowly, Michael suggested. Let me get to know them first. Let them get comfortable with me. Kayla nodded. That seems reasonable. Another knock came at the door. This time it was Sarah. Sorry to interrupt, but that video of Chef standing up to Rebecca Wilson is spreading fast. A local news station called asking for an interview. Tell them no comment, Michael replied. Sarah hesitated. Also, the boy's neighbor called. She said Max isn't feeling well and is asking for you, Kayla. I need to go, Kayla said, standing quickly. Of course, Michael agreed. We can continue this conversation another time. Tomorrow? Kayla suggested. I work the dinner shift. Come early, Michael said. We can talk before service. Kayla nodded and followed Sarah out. Michael remained in his office, overwhelmed by the evening's revelations. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small notebook. On a blank page, he wrote Mason, Miles, Max, and underlined the names. The following afternoon, Kayla arrived at the harvest table 2 hours before her shift. She found Michael in the kitchen preparing for dinner service. How's Max? He asked immediately. Just a stomachache. He's feeling better today, Kayla said. My neighbor is bringing all 3 boys in about an hour. Michael nodded. I was thinking, maybe we could create a better space for them while you work. The storage room near my office could be converted into a comfortable area with proper lighting for homework, some books, maybe a small refrigerator for snacks. Kayla looked surprised. That's very thoughtful, but unnecessary. I want to help, Kayla, Michael said. I've missed 6 years. I can't get that time back, but I can make things better going forward. They moved to a quiet corner of the empty dining room to continue their conversation. Last night you mentioned working multiple jobs, Michael said. What else do you do besides working here? I work breakfast shifts at a diner in Dorchester 3 days a week, Kayla explained, and I do online data entry during school hours. That's too much, Michael frowned. You must be exhausted. I do what's necessary to provide for my boys, Kayla said simply. Our apartment is small but in a decent neighborhood with good schools. Let me help financially, Michael offered. They're my sons too. Kayla looked uncomfortable. We've managed this long without… But you don't have to anymore, Michael interrupted. I'm not trying to take over or control anything. I just want to share the responsibility. Before Kayla could respond, Sarah approached their table. That video has gone viral overnight, she announced. It's been shared thousands of times. People are calling you a hero, Michael, for standing up to a rich bully and defending your employee. Michael groaned. That's the last thing we need. Actually, Sarah continued, we've received over 100 reservation requests since this morning. People specifically want to dine at the restaurant where the chef stands up for his staff. That's good for business, at least, Kayla noted. There's something else, Sarah added hesitantly. Rebecca Wilson posted on her social media accounts this morning. She's calling the harvest table pretentious and overpriced and encouraging her followers to avoid it. Michael shrugged. After that video, I doubt many people will take her seriously. The restaurant doors opened and Mrs. Rodriguez entered with the triplets. The boys spotted their mother immediately and ran toward her. Mom! Miles exclaimed. Mrs. Rodriguez let us watch the video of the chef on her phone. You're famous now, Mason added, looking at Michael with wide eyes. Max hung back slightly, studying Michael carefully. You told that mean lady to go away because she was rude to our mom. Michael knelt down to their level. Yes, I did. Nobody should speak to your mother that way. She works very hard and does an amazing job here. Do you like to cook? Miles asked suddenly. Michael smiled. Very much. It's my favorite thing to do. I like cooking too, Mason said. Mom lets me help make pancakes on Sundays. Really? Michael's heart swelled. Maybe someday you could show me how you make them. Mrs. Rodriguez approached Kayla. I should get going. The boys have been talking about nothing but the chef video all day. After the neighbor left, Michael looked at Kayla questioningly. She nodded slightly. Boys, Michael said, would you like to see the kitchen before the other chefs arrive for dinner? Yes, Miles and Mason exclaimed together. Will there be knives? Max asked cautiously. Mom says kitchens are dangerous. They can be, Michael agreed, but we'll be very careful. I'll show you the safe parts first. As they walked toward the kitchen, Kayla's phone rang. She checked the screen and frowned. It's a Boston Globe reporter, she whispered to Michael. How did they get my number? Michael took the phone and answered. This is Michael Anderson. Yes, I'm the chef from the video. No comment at this time. Please respect our privacy. He handed the phone back to Kayla. This is getting out of hand. Chef, Tony called from the entrance. You need to see this. They hurried over as Tony held up his phone. The video of Michael and Rebecca had been featured on a national morning show, with hosts praising the Boston chef who stood up for his staff against an entitled customer. This is not good, Michael muttered. Look at the view count, Tony said. 10 million and climbing. Michael and Kayla exchanged worried glances as the triplets peered curiously at the screen, unaware that their lives were about to change dramatically. 10 million views? Kayla whispered, her face pale. How is this possible? Michael gently guided the boys away from Tony's phone. Let's continue our kitchen tour. Tony, please start the dinner preparations. As they walked into the kitchen, Michael's phone buzzed continuously in his pocket. He ignored it, focusing instead on creating a positive first experience for his sons. This is where we prepare all the food, Michael explained, showing the boys around the gleaming stainless steel workspace. Every dish starts here. Mason looked at everything with careful attention. Why are there so many different pots? Each one has a special purpose, Michael explained. Some are for sauces, others for soups or cooking vegetables. Miles pointed excitedly at a row of desserts waiting for finishing touches. Did you make those? They look so good. I designed them, but our pastry chef Elena created them, Michael said. Would you like to try one? All three boys nodded enthusiastically. Michael selected 3 small chocolate desserts and placed them on plates. These are chocolate ganache tarts with raspberry centers, he explained. Max inspected his carefully. What's ganache? It's a mixture of chocolate and cream, Michael said. Try it and tell me what you think. The boys each took a bite. Miles immediately grinned with chocolate-covered teeth. Mason closed his eyes, concentrating on the flavor. Max nodded thoughtfully. It's good, Max declared, but it needs more raspberry. Michael laughed. That's exactly what I told Elena last week. Kayla watched from the doorway, emotions playing across her face. Seeing her sons interact with their father for the first time, even though they didn't know he was their father, was overwhelming. The kitchen staff began arriving for dinner service. Many glanced curiously at Michael and the triplets, having seen the viral video. We should let Chef Michael prepare for dinner, Kayla said to the boys. Let's get to your table. Can we come back to the kitchen another time? Miles asked Michael. Absolutely, Michael promised. Maybe I could teach you how to make something simple. Like what? Mason asked. How about chocolate chip cookies? Michael suggested. Every chef should master the basics first. I already know how to make those, Max said proudly. Mom taught us. Michael smiled at Kayla. Then maybe your mom and I could teach you together. After the boys settled at their usual table, Michael pulled Kayla aside. The storage room conversion can be done by tomorrow, he said. I've already texted my contractor. Michael, that's moving too fast, Kayla protested. We haven't even figured out how to tell them you're their father. The room isn't about that, Michael explained. It's about making their time here more comfortable while you work. Whether I'm their father or just the chef, those boys deserve better than a corner table. Before Kayla could respond, Sarah approached them urgently. Michael, Rebecca Wilson just posted again. She's claiming our kitchen has failed multiple health inspections and that we use frozen seafood while claiming it's fresh. That's completely false, Michael said angrily. It gets worse, Sarah continued. She's urging her followers to report us to the health department. Can she do that? Kayla asked. She can try, Michael said. Our kitchen is spotless, and we have documentation for all our food sourcing. The restaurant opened for dinner service, which was unusually busy for a Tuesday night. Many guests asked for Michael, hoping to see the hero chef from the video. Others took photos of Kayla as she worked, whispering and pointing. At 9 o'clock, Kayla approached Michael in the kitchen. "The boys are exhausted," she said. "Mrs. Rodriguez is here to take them home." Michael wiped his hands and hurried to their table. "Good night, boys. It was wonderful showing you the kitchen today." "When can we come back?" Miles asked sleepily. "Tomorrow," Michael said. "I'll have a surprise for you." After Mrs. Rodriguez took the boys home, Michael returned to the busy kitchen. Despite the night's success, he couldn't shake his concern about Rebecca's false accusations. The following morning, Michael arrived at his Dorchester apartment building with 2 large bags of breakfast pastries. He had texted Kayla asking if he could visit before the boys went to school, and she had reluctantly agreed. When she opened the door, Michael was struck by the contrast between her home and his restaurant. The apartment was clean and carefully maintained, but unmistakably small for a family of 4. Toys were neatly organized in bins. School backpacks hung on hooks by the door. "You brought enough pastries to feed 20 children, Kayla said with a small smile. "I wasn't sure what they liked," Michael admitted. The triplets emerged from their bedroom, already dressed for school in matching blue shirts and khaki pants. "Chef Michael!" Miles exclaimed. "Why are you here?" "I brought breakfast," Michael explained, holding up the bags. "And I wanted to talk to you and your mom about something." Max looked suspicious. "About what?" "About creating a better space for you at the restaurant," Michael said. "Would you like that?" During breakfast, Michael explained his idea for converting the storage room. The boys grew excited, especially when he mentioned adding books and art supplies. "Can we have a rug?" Mason asked. "The dining room floor is cold." "Of course," Michael agreed. "Any other requests?" "A refrigerator for drinks," Max said practically. "Beanbag chairs," Miles added. Michael laughed. "I think we can manage all of that." As the boys got ready for school, Michael spoke quietly to Kayla. "I know this is all happening very fast," he said. "But the viral video has changed things. People are watching us. We need to appear in control of the situation." "What do you mean?" Kayla asked. "Rebecca Wilson is attacking the restaurant because of me," Michael explained. "But her followers are also targeting you. Have you checked your social media?" Kayla shook her head. "I've been avoiding it." Michael showed her his phone. Rebecca's supporters had identified Kayla and were posting nasty comments about her online. "This is horrible," Kayla whispered. "I've hired security for the restaurant," Michael said. "I'd like to have someone watch your apartment too." "That seems extreme," Kayla protested. "Maybe," Michael acknowledged. "But I don't want to take chances with your safety or the boys." After taking the triplets to school, Kayla and Michael went to the harvest table. The contractor had already begun work on the storage room. Restaurant staff were arriving early, concerned about the negative posts from Rebecca Wilson. "We need to respond to these accusations," Sarah said during the emergency staff meeting. "The health department called. They're coming for an inspection tomorrow because of complaints." "Let them come," Michael said confidently. "Our kitchen exceeds all standards. In the meantime, I want everyone to focus on what we do best, providing excellent food and service." Tony showed Michael his phone. "Chef, Rebecca Wilson just posted that she's going on the city morning show tomorrow to talk about dangerous conditions at our restaurant." "That's defamation," Michael's attorney Diane Foster said as she joined the meeting. "We can sue her for false claims that damage the business." "Let's wait and see what she says on television," Michael decided. Filing a lawsuit will only create more publicity. Throughout the day, supporters left positive comments on the Harvest Table's social media pages. Regular customers called to express their support. Local chefs sent messages of solidarity. When the triplets arrived after school, they were thrilled with the progress on their new room. Walls had been painted a cheerful yellow, and new furniture was being assembled. "This is awesome!" Miles exclaimed, running around the space. It should be finished by tomorrow, Michael told them. As dinner service began, Kayla seemed distracted and anxious. During a brief break, Michael found her checking her phone in the staff area. Everything okay? He asked. No, Kayla admitted. Some woman posted our home address online. She's one of Rebecca's followers. Michael's expression hardened. That's it. This has gone too far. What are we going to do? Kayla asked. First, you and the boys aren't going back to that apartment tonight, Michael decided. I have a guest house behind my home in Cambridge. You'll stay there until this blows over. Michael, we can't just… Kayla, this is about safety now, Michael interrupted. These people are crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. That evening after closing, Michael drove Kayla and the boys to his Cambridge home. The triplets were excited about the unexpected adventure, but Kayla remained worried. As the boys explored the guest house, Michael and Kayla sat at the kitchen table planning their next steps. We need to tell them, Michael said quietly, about me being their father. Now? Kayla asked, surprised. With everything else that's happening? They need to understand why we're protecting them so intensely, Michael explained. And if Rebecca digs deeper, she might discover the truth and use it against us. Kayla considered this. You're right. We should be the ones to tell them, not some news story or social media post. Tomorrow morning, Michael suggested, before the health inspection and Rebecca's television appearance. As they finished talking, Michael's phone rang. It was Tony. Chef, someone broke the front window of the restaurant, Tony reported. Police are here now. They're checking the security cameras. Michael and Kayla exchanged alarmed looks. The situation was escalating quickly, and their newly reconnected family was caught in the middle of a very public storm. I'll be right there, Michael said into his phone. He ended the call and looked at Kayla. I have to go to the restaurant. I'll come with you, Kayla said, standing up. Michael shook his head. Stay here with the boys. The security system is active, and my neighbor is a police officer. But the restaurant can be fixed, Michael said firmly. You and the boys need to be safe. After Michael left, Kayla checked on the triplets, who had fallen asleep in the guest house's second bedroom. She gently pulled the blankets over them, studying their peaceful faces. Tomorrow, they would learn the truth about their father. At the restaurant, Michael found 2 police officers examining the broken front window. Shattered glass covered the sidewalk, and a large rock lay among the pieces. We're reviewing security footage now, Officer Garcia told him. Do you have any idea who might have done this? There's been some negative social media attention recently, Michael explained. A customer named Rebecca Wilson has been posting false accusations about the restaurant. The officer made notes. Is there any security footage from inside that shows the window breaking? Yes, Tony confirmed, approaching them. I've pulled it up on the monitor in your office, Chef. The footage clearly showed a young man throwing a rock through the window, then running away. That's not Rebecca Wilson, Tony said, sounding relieved. No, but it could be someone she encouraged, Michael replied. Officer, I'm concerned about escalating harassment. My waitress, Kayla Johnson, has had her home address posted online by Wilson's followers. That's serious, Officer Garcia said. I recommend filing for a restraining order against Miss Wilson. In the meantime, we'll increase patrols around the restaurant. By the time Michael returned to his Cambridge home, it was nearly 2 a.m. He slept on his living room couch, not wanting to disturb Kayla and the boys in the guest house. The next morning, he woke early and prepared a special breakfast. The smell of bacon and pancakes drew the triplets from their beds. Good morning, Michael greeted them. Did you sleep well? Your guest house has really soft beds, Miles said, climbing onto a stool at the kitchen counter. Why does your house have another house behind it? Max asked practically. Michael smiled. It was originally built as a place for my parents to stay when they visited. Now it's useful for other guests. Kayla emerged from the guest house looking tired but determined. She nodded slightly to Michael. confirming their plan to tell the boys the truth. "Boys," she said, "after breakfast, Michael and I need to talk to you about something important." The triplets exchanged glances, their identical green eyes showing concern. "Are we in trouble?" Mason asked quietly. "Not at all," Michael assured him. "It's good news, actually. But it's a big change." After breakfast, they gathered in Michael's living room. The boys sat on the couch with Kayla and Michael facing them in armchairs. "Do you remember when you asked about your dad?" Kayla began gently. "And I told you he lived far away?" The boys nodded. "Well, he came back to Boston last year," Kayla continued. "But I didn't know he was back until very recently." Miles looked confused. "Did he forget about us?" "No, sweetheart," Kayla said quickly. "He didn't know about you. I tried to tell him before you were born, but we couldn't reach each other." "Where is he now?" Mason asked, always the most perceptive. Kayla looked at Michael, who leaned forward. "I'm your father," Michael said simply. Silence filled the room. The boys stared at him, processing this information. "You're our dad?" Miles finally asked, his eyes wide. "Yes," Michael confirmed. "I just found out 2 days ago when I saw you at the restaurant." "Is that why you made us the special room?" Max asked suspiciously. "Partly," Michael admitted. "I wanted to do something nice for you, and I wanted to start getting to know you better." Mason studied Michael's face carefully. "We have your eyes. That's what Mom always said, that we have our father's eyes." "You do," Michael agreed, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'm sorry I wasn't there for you all these years." The boys' reactions were as different as their personalities. Miles immediately jumped up and ran to Michael, throwing his arms around him in an enthusiastic hug. Mason remained on the couch, watching thoughtfully but with a small smile. Max crossed his arms, his expression uncertain. "Why are you telling us now?" Max asked. "Is it because of the mean lady and the broken window?" Kayla nodded. "Partly, yes. We want you to understand why we're being extra careful right now. Some people are angry at Michael because of what happened at the restaurant, and we need to stay together and stay safe." "Are we a family now?" Miles asked, still hugging Michael. "We're figuring that out," Michael said honestly. "But yes, we are a family, and families protect each other." "Do we have to call you Dad?" Max asked. "You can call me whatever makes you comfortable," Michael replied. "Michael is fine until you're ready for something else." Later that morning, Michael's attorney arrived to discuss their legal options. "The health department inspection is scheduled for 2 o'clock today," Diane Foster said, reviewing her notes. "I'll be present to ensure everything is properly documented." "Rebecca Wilson is appearing on City Morning Show at 9, Kayla added, checking her phone. "I've prepared a cease and desist letter regarding her false statements," Diane said, "and we're filing for a temporary restraining order based on the harassment by her followers." At precisely 9 o'clock, they turned on the television. Rebecca Wilson appeared perfectly groomed in a designer outfit, her expression serious as the host introduced her. "Ms. Wilson, you recently had an unpleasant experience at the Harvest Table restaurant." "Tell us about that," the host prompted. "I was served inedible food and treated disrespectfully," Rebecca began. "But that's just the beginning. My followers have shared numerous stories of food poisoning and terrible service." "That's simply not true," Michael muttered. The host looked skeptical. "The video that went viral shows Chef Anderson inviting you to observe the kitchen processes. Doesn't that indicate transparency?" "It was all for show," Rebecca insisted. "What the public doesn't see is what happens when cameras aren't rolling. My sources tell me the chef has failed multiple health inspections." "We've never failed an inspection," Michael said angrily to the television. The interview continued with Rebecca making increasingly dramatic claims. When it ended, Michael's phone immediately rang. It was Sarah. "Reservation cancellations are pouring in," she reported. "And we've received 4 more calls from reporters." "Let's go to the restaurant," Michael told Kayla. "We need to prepare for the health inspection." The boys were reluctant to leave Michael's comfortable house. "Can't we stay here?" Miles asked. "I need you to come with us," Michael explained. "Your special room at the restaurant is finished and you'll be safe there." At the restaurant, staff worked diligently to prepare for the inspection. The broken front window had been boarded up, with a new glass panel scheduled for installation the next day. The triplets gasped with delight when they saw their completed room. Beanbag chairs in bright colors, a small refrigerator stocked with juice and snacks, shelves filled with books and art supplies, and a soft rug covering the floor made the space inviting and comfortable. "This is awesome!" Miles exclaimed, diving onto a beanbag. "There's even a table for homework," Mason noted, examining the child-sized desk and chairs. "And a TV," Max added, pointing to a small screen in the corner. "Only for educational programs," Kayla clarified. While the boys explored their new space, Michael took Kayla to the kitchen. The staff watched them curiously, having noticed the changed dynamic between them. "Everyone," Michael announced, "I have something important to share. Kayla's sons, Mason, Miles, and Max, are also my sons. I only learned this recently, and we're working to build a relationship as a family." The kitchen staff exchanged surprised glances. "So that's why they have your eyes," Tony said, smiling. "I always wondered." "This doesn't change anything professionally," Michael continued, "but I wanted you to understand why they'll be spending more time here and why I'm so concerned about the current situation with Rebecca Wilson." Elena, the pastry chef, stepped forward. "We're all behind you, chef." "And Kayla, too." As the health inspector conducted his thorough examination of the kitchen, Michael brought Mason in to observe. The boy watched with fascination as the inspector checked refrigerator temperatures and examined food storage areas. "Is this how you make sure food is safe?" Mason asked the inspector. "Exactly right," the man replied kindly. "We check everything to make sure restaurants follow the rules." "Our dad is very careful," Mason said, the word "dad" slipping out naturally. "He keeps everything clean." Michael felt a surge of emotion hearing Mason call him dad for the first time. He placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. The inspection concluded with the harvest table receiving a perfect score. The inspector signed the official document, which Diane immediately photographed for legal purposes. "I'll post this on our website and social media immediately," Sarah said. As the afternoon progressed, Michael made time to connect with each boy individually. He showed Max how the reservation system worked, impressed by the child's quick understanding of numbers and patterns. He helped Miles decorate cookies in the pastry station, encouraging his creative designs. And he taught Mason the proper way to hold a chef's knife, using a plastic training knife for safety. By evening, the harvest table was busy despite the cancellations. Many regular customers came specifically to show support, and several local chefs stopped by with encouraging messages. As Michael and Kayla watched their sons playing happily in their new room, a strange calm settled over them despite the chaos of recent days. "We're going to be okay," Michael said quietly. Unknown to them, across town, Rebecca Wilson sat in her elegant office listening to a private investigator's report about Kayla's financial struggles and Michael's absence from his sons' lives, information she was already planning to use against them. "So far, the harvest table has passed every health inspection with flying colors," Rebecca Wilson said to James Porter, her private investigator. She drummed her manicured fingernails on her glass desk. "We need something more effective." "I've gathered significant information about the waitress, Kayla Johnson," Porter replied, sliding a folder across the desk. "Single mother struggling financially for years, 3 jobs to support her triplets. And Chef Anderson, completely absent for the first 6 years of their lives." Rebecca smiled as she reviewed the documents. "This is exactly what I need. The public loves their hero chef now, but how will they feel when they learn he abandoned his own children?" The next morning, as Michael prepared breakfast in his Cambridge home, his phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Have you seen the Boston Herald website?" Michael quickly pulled up the site. The headline made his stomach drop. Exclusive. Celebrity chef Michael Anderson abandoned secret family for fame. Kayla, he called urgently. You need to see this. Kayla hurried from the guest house, the boys following behind her. Her face paled as she read the article over Michael's shoulder. Sources close to the situation reveal that Chef Michael Anderson, recently praised for defending his staff against wealthy patron Rebecca Wilson, abandoned his pregnant girlfriend 7 years ago to pursue his culinary career in Paris, Kayla read aloud. The waitress he so gallantly defended is allegedly the mother of his 3 children whom he never acknowledged until the viral video brought unwanted attention. That's not true, Miles protested. You didn't know about us. Who wrote this? Kayla asked, scrolling to find the byline. Anonymous source, Michael replied grimly. But we know who's behind it. Before they could discuss further, the house phone rang. Michael answered cautiously. Mr. Anderson? This is Principal Watson from Dorchester Elementary. There are several photographers outside our school asking about the Johnson boys. Is there something we should know? I'm so sorry about this, Michael said. The boys are with me now. They won't be attending school today. After he hung up, Diane Foster called to discuss legal options. Tony called to report that fake negative reviews were flooding their online pages. Sarah called about multiple reservation cancellations. This is a coordinated attack, Michael told Kayla after the flurry of calls. Rebecca is coming at us from all sides. The boys can't go back to school with photographers waiting, Kayla said, and I don't feel safe at my apartment after my address was posted online. You'll all stay here, Michael insisted. Max, who had been listening carefully, spoke up. We can't hide forever. Michael knelt to the boys' level. You're right, Max, and we won't. But sometimes a strategic retreat is the smart move. By noon, the situation had worsened. Photographers gathered outside Michael's house. The restaurant reported tables sitting empty from fake reservations. Online review sites were flooded with 1-star ratings claiming food poisoning and terrible service. Michael called an emergency staff meeting via video conference. The entire team gathered in the restaurant while Michael addressed them from his home office. I want to be transparent with all of you, Michael began. As you now know, Kayla's sons are also my sons. I only discovered this after the incident with Rebecca Wilson. This is a private family matter that is being weaponized against our restaurant. What can we do to help? Tony asked. The other staff members nodded in agreement. I need everyone to maintain our standards of excellence, Michael said. Sarah will handle media inquiries. Diane is addressing the legal issues. Tony will supervise the kitchen in my absence. In your absence? Sarah asked, concerned. Kayla and I have decided to take the boys away for a week, Michael explained. Somewhere without internet or cell service to escape the media attention. After the meeting, Kayla approached Michael in the kitchen. My cousin has a summer house in Cape Cod. It's empty this time of year. We could go there. Perfect, Michael agreed. We'll leave tonight after dark. As they packed essentials for the trip, Mason helped Michael gather ingredients from his pantry. What are these for? Mason asked, holding a bag of specialty flour. I thought I could teach you boys some baking while we're away, Michael replied. Would you like that? Mason nodded enthusiastically. I want to learn everything about cooking. You have a natural talent, Michael told him. I can already see it. Meanwhile, in the living room, Kayla found Miles drawing pictures. What are you making? She asked, sitting beside him. It's our family, Miles explained, pointing to the figures in his drawing. See? That's you and me and Mason and Max, and that's Michael, I mean Dad. Kayla felt her eyes fill with tears. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Max entered carrying a small backpack. I packed my own clothes, he announced, and I made a list of what Mason and Miles should pack too. Thank you, Max, Kayla said. That's very responsible of you. That evening, they slipped out through Michael's garage and drove in Sarah's borrowed car to avoid being recognized. The boys fell asleep in the back seat during the 2-hour drive to Cape Cod. "How are you holding up?" Michael asked Kayla softly. "Honestly, I'm terrified," she admitted. "Everything I've built for the boys feels like it's in danger." "We'll protect them," Michael promised. "And when this is over, we'll build something stronger together." The summer house was simple but comfortable, situated on a quiet stretch of beach. The boys woke up as they arrived and stared sleepily at their surroundings. "Are we at the ocean?" Miles asked excitedly, suddenly wide awake. "Yes," Kayla said. "We're going to stay here for a while away from the city and the photographers." "Like a vacation?" Mason asked. "Exactly like a vacation," Michael confirmed, "with lots of cooking and beach time." Max studied the house cautiously. "Is it safe here?" "Very safe," Michael assured him. "No one knows we're here." Back in Boston, the restaurant staff began their own counter-offensive. Elena, the pastry chef, posted a photo of herself with Kayla from the staff Christmas party. "Proud to work with this amazing woman for 3 years. Kayla Johnson is the hardest working person I know." Harvest Table Family. Tony shared a video of himself in the kitchen. "Chef Michael trained me for 5 years. His standards of excellence and fairness make the Harvest Table special. Don't believe the fake reviews." Harvest Table Family. Other staff members followed suit, sharing personal stories and positive experiences. Regular customers joined in, posting photos of their favorite meals and interactions with the staff. The hashtag Harvest Table Family began trending locally, then regionally. Food bloggers picked up the story, questioning the suspicious timing of negative reviews. Other chefs expressed solidarity. Rebecca Wilson watched the support growing with increasing frustration. Her phone rang. It was her publicist. "This isn't working, Rebecca," the publicist said bluntly. "The restaurant staff's social media campaign is gaining traction. People are questioning your motives." "I don't care," Rebecca snapped. "Find something else we can use against them." "Several sponsors for your reality show have called with concerns," the publicist continued. "They're worried about negative association." Rebecca ended the call abruptly. She needed a different approach. At Cape Cod, the family settled into a peaceful routine. Each morning, Michael took the boys for a walk on the beach while Kayla slept in. In the afternoons, they had cooking lessons in the small kitchen. "The secret to perfect cookies is in how you mix the ingredients," Michael explained on their 3rd day, demonstrating for the boys. Max, who had been the most resistant to Michael, now watched his techniques with genuine interest. "Why do you add the vanilla last?" "Good question," Michael said, pleased by Max's observation. "It preserves the flavor better that way." Later, while the boys played on the beach, Michael and Kayla sat together on the porch. "The boys seem happier than I've seen them in a long time," Kayla remarked. "I've missed so much," Michael said regretfully. "First steps, first words, first days of school." "You're here now," Kayla reminded him. "That's what matters." Michael reached for her hand. "Kayla, when this is all over, I want us to figure out what's next. Not just for the boys, but for us too." Kayla squeezed his hand. "One step at a time, Michael." On their 6th day at Cape Cod, Sarah called on the house's landline with an update. "The Harvest Table Family campaign is working," she reported. "Reservations are picking up again. People are posting supportive messages." "Any news about Rebecca?" Michael asked. "She's been quiet the past 2 days," Sarah said. "Too quiet, honestly. It makes me nervous." "We'll return tomorrow as planned," Michael decided. "The boys need to get back to school and the restaurant needs its chef." What Michael and Kayla didn't know was that Rebecca had spent those 2 quiet days in meetings with her lawyers and real estate advisors. She had devised a new strategy, one that wouldn't rely on public opinion. "Wilson Holdings, LLC has made an offer?" asked the owner of the building that housed the Harvest Table. "Yes, Mr. Peterson," Rebecca's lawyer confirmed. "My client prefers to remain anonymous but is prepared to pay 20% above market value in cash with no inspection contingencies." "That's very generous," Mr. Peterson said, studying the offer. "May I ask why your client is so interested in this particular property?" The lawyer smiled smoothly. "Investment purposes only. The location has excellent potential." As Michael and his newly bonded family packed to return to Boston, Rebecca Wilson signed the final papers to purchase the building that housed the Harvest Table. In 30 days, she would have the power to cancel their lease and evict them from the location that had brought Michael and Kayla back together. "Congratulations on your purchase, Ms. Wilson," the real estate lawyer said, sliding the signed documents across the table. "In 30 days, you'll have full control of the property." Rebecca Wilson smiled as she placed the papers in her designer handbag. "Perfect timing. Their return from hiding will be met with my best surprise yet." The next morning, Michael's car pulled up to the Harvest Table. The week in Cape Cod had transformed them. The triplets, once cautious around Michael, now raced to the restaurant door, eager to see their special room again. Max, who had been the most resistant, walked beside Michael, asking questions about the day's menu. "Can I help in the kitchen today?" Mason asked as Michael unlocked the door. "Of course," Michael replied. "I need my best assistant chef." Inside, they found Sarah already working at her desk. Her face brightened when she saw them. "You're back!" she exclaimed, hugging Kayla. "And the boys look so happy." "We made cookies every day," Miles announced proudly. "And Dad taught us how to fish." Sarah smiled at Michael. "Dad, huh? Sounds like the trip was a success." "More than I could have hoped," Michael agreed. "How are things here?" Sarah's smile faded slightly. "Mostly good. The Harvest Table family campaign really worked. We're almost fully booked for dinner tonight." "But," Michael prompted, noticing her hesitation. "This arrived yesterday," Sarah said, handing Michael an official-looking envelope. "I tried calling, but your phone was off." Michael opened the envelope and read the letter inside. His face grew serious. "What is it?" Kayla asked, moving to his side. "Notice of building ownership transfer," Michael said quietly. "The building has been purchased by a company called Wilson Holdings, LLC." Kayla's eyes widened. "Wilson? As in Rebecca Wilson?" "It has to be," Michael confirmed. "According to this, we have 30 days to vacate the premises." The triplets, sensing the tension, gathered around their parents. "What does that mean?" Max asked. "Are we losing the restaurant?" Michael knelt down to the boys' level. "Not exactly. We might need to move the restaurant to a new location, but the Harvest Table isn't just a building. It's the people who work here and the food we create." Throughout the morning, staff members arrived, overjoyed to see Michael and Kayla but devastated by the eviction news. By noon, Michael called everyone together for an emergency meeting. "I know this comes as a shock," he began, standing at the front of the dining room. "Rebecca Wilson has found a way to strike at us where we're most vulnerable. But I want to make one thing absolutely clear. The Harvest Table will continue, regardless of our location. Can't we fight this legally?" Elena, the pastry chef, asked. "Diane is exploring our options," Michael replied. "But the purchase appears legitimate. We signed a lease with the previous owner that allows for termination with 30 days' notice if the building is sold." "What about our reservations?" Tony asked. "We're booked for months." "We'll honor every reservation," Michael promised, "even if we have to cook in a temporary space." Kayla, who had been quiet, stepped forward. "I have an idea. What about food trucks? We could convert part of our operation while we search for a new permanent location." "Food trucks?" Tony repeated skeptically. "Think about it," Kayla continued. "Mobile kitchens would allow us to maintain presence in multiple locations. We could park outside office buildings for lunch service and popular spots for dinner." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "It's an excellent interim solution. We could keep our core staff employed during the transition." The meeting continued with practical discussions about logistics, budget, and timeline. The triplets sat in their special room, drawing pictures while the adults talked. "I don't want to lose our room," Miles said sadly. "We just got it." "Dad will make us a new one," Mason assured him. "He promised we'd always have a place at the restaurant." Max looked up from his drawing. "That mean lady is trying to hurt our family." "What can we do?" Miles asked. Max thought for a moment. "Remember how Dad's video got famous? Maybe we need our own video." "About what?" Mason asked. "About our family," Max explained. "About how we just found our dad and now that lady is trying to take away his restaurant." The boys huddled together, forming a plan while the staff meeting continued in the dining room. That evening, after dinner service, Michael and Kayla sat in his office reviewing their options. Michael had contacted real estate agents about potential new locations. Kayla had researched food truck regulations and costs. "We can make this work," Michael said, though his voice betrayed his concern. "We've overcome worse challenges." "Have we?" Kayla asked. "This feels pretty bad, Michael. Rebecca is using her wealth and connections to destroy what you've built." "What we've built," Michael corrected her. "You're as much a part of the harvest table as I am. And now our sons are too." Back at Michael's Cambridge home that night, the triplets waited until their parents were asleep. They snuck into the study with Kayla's tablet and set it up to record. "Hi, I'm Mason," the first boy said to the camera. "I'm Miles," said the second. "And I'm Max," added the third. "We're 6 years old and we're triplets," Mason continued. "Our mom works really hard at a restaurant called the Harvest Table," Miles explained. "We just found out that the chef there is our dad," Max said. "We never knew him before because he was working in Paris when we were born." "He's really nice," Miles added enthusiastically. "He teaches us how to cook and made us a special room at the restaurant." "But now a mean lady named Rebecca Wilson is trying to take away the restaurant," Mason said, his young face serious. "Just because our dad stood up for our mom when the lady was being mean to her," Max explained. "She bought the building and is making everyone leave," Miles said sadly. "Now we might lose our special room and all the people who work there might lose their jobs." "We just found our dad," Mason continued. "We don't want to lose our family's restaurant, too. Please help us save the Harvest Table," all three boys said together. The next morning, while Michael and Kayla were busy discussing potential new restaurant locations, the triplets uploaded their video with the hashtag #SaveOurFamily. They didn't tell anyone what they had done. At the restaurant, Michael met with Diane Foster to discuss legal options. "The purchase is legitimate," Diane confirmed. "Rebecca used a shell company, but it's definitely her behind it." "Can we challenge it?" Michael asked. "We can try to prove malicious intent," Diane suggested. "But it's a long shot. Real estate purchases for business purposes, even competitive ones, are generally protected." Their conversation was interrupted when Sarah burst into the office. "Michael, you need to see this," she said, holding up her phone. "The boys made a video. It's going viral." Michael and Kayla watched the video with a mixture of surprise and concern. The boys spoke directly to the camera, their identical green eyes, Michael's eyes, filled with innocent determination as they explained their situation. "How many people have seen this?" Kayla asked. "Over 50,000 views already," Sarah replied. "And it's growing fast. People are sharing it everywhere with hashtag #SaveOurFamily." "We didn't know they were doing this," Michael explained to Diane. "Well, it might actually help our case," the attorney said. "Public sentiment can influence business decisions, even if it can't directly change legal outcomes." By that afternoon, the video had reached 1 million views. News outlets picked up the story, framing it as wealthy developer versus family business. Reporters gathered outside the Harvest Table, hoping to interview Michael and Kayla. In her downtown office, Rebecca Wilson watched the video with growing alarm. Her phone rang constantly. Business associates, clients, even the producers of her reality show, all asking about her response to the triplets' emotional plea. "I don't care what three little brats said in a video," Rebecca snapped at her publicist. "The purchase is done. The restaurant will be gone in 30 days. "Rebecca, you need to care," her publicist insisted. "This is a PR disaster. The boys are adorable, and their story is compelling. You're being portrayed as a villain who's breaking up a newly reunited family. That's ridiculous. I'm simply making a business decision. A business decision that looks like personal revenge, the publicist countered. Your company's stock price dropped 5 points this morning. Major clients are calling to express concerns about being associated with your brand. Outside Rebecca's office, protesters began to gather with handmade signs bearing messages like "Stand with the harvest table" and "Family over greed." Local news vans captured footage of the growing crowd. Rebecca's assistant knocked on her door. "Ms. Wilson, the board members are on line 1. They've called an emergency meeting and require your immediate attendance." At the harvest table, the triplets arrived after school to find the restaurant surrounded by supporters. People cheered when they recognized the boys from the video. Inside, the staff welcomed them with hugs and high fives. "Am I in trouble for making the video?" Max asked his parents nervously. Michael knelt before his sons. "No, you're not in trouble. But next time, please talk to us before sharing something online." "We just wanted to help," Mason explained. "And you did," Kayla assured him. "Many people are supporting us now because of your video." Michael's phone rang. It was Diane. "Michael, you won't believe this. I just received a call from Rebecca Wilson's attorney. They want to meet tomorrow to discuss a potential resolution." "What kind of resolution?" Michael asked, surprised. "They didn't specify," Diane replied. "But the fact that they're reaching out at all is significant. The boys' video must have created more pressure than we realized." That evening, as Michael and Kayla prepared dinner with their sons, the news reported that several major sponsors had suspended their relationships with Rebecca Wilson's companies, citing ethical concerns. Her reality show had announced a production hiatus. "Did our video really do all that?" Miles asked, watching the television report. "Sometimes the most powerful voices are the most honest ones," Michael told him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. None of them could have predicted that in a luxurious downtown boardroom, Rebecca Wilson was fighting to maintain control of her own company, as board members questioned whether her personal vendetta against a restaurant was worth the damage to their brand and bottom line. "This vendetta against the harvest table must end immediately," said James Wilson, Rebecca's brother-in-law and head of the board. "Our stock price has dropped 15% in one day. Sponsors are canceling contracts." Rebecca Wilson sat stiffly at the end of the conference table. 8 board members stared at her with expressions ranging from concern to outright anger. "Those boys' video is simply emotional manipulation," Rebecca insisted. "I made a sound business decision to purchase that building." "A business decision?" Laura Chen, the company's financial director, questioned. "Rebecca, you paid 20% above market value for a building with a single tenant. A tenant you publicly feuded with. That's not business. That's personal." "My daughter came home from school crying yesterday," James added. "Her classmates asked if her aunt was the mean restaurant lady from the video. This isn't just affecting our business, it's affecting our families." Rebecca looked around the table, suddenly aware of how isolated she had become. For the first time since the confrontation began, doubt crept into her mind. After the 3-hour board meeting, Rebecca returned to her penthouse apartment. Instead of her usual evening glass of wine, she poured herself water and stood by the window, looking out over Boston. Her phone buzzed with a text from her daughter, Amanda. "Mom, please fix this. Everyone at college is sharing those little boys' video. It's humiliating." Rebecca closed her eyes. She had started this fight because of a perceived insult, a moment when she felt disrespected. Now her actions were hurting the people she cared about most. Her doorbell rang unexpectedly. When she answered, she found her older sister Catherine standing there. "You look terrible," Catherine said, entering without waiting for an invitation. "Thank you for your support," Rebecca replied sarcastically. Catherine sat on the sofa. "I watched that video of the triplets. Those little boys just found their father, and you're trying to take away their family's restaurant. What happened to you, Becca?" "Don't call me that," Rebecca snapped. The childhood nickname brought back unwanted memories. "Remember when Dad would criticize everything at restaurants?" Catherine continued. "How he'd make the servers cry and Mom would just sit there silently? You swore you'd never be like him." Rebecca turned away. "This has nothing to do with our parents." "Doesn't it?" Catherine challenged. "You're lashing out at a waitress and her children because a chef dared to stand up to you, exactly what Dad did whenever anyone challenged him." The truth in her sister's words hit Rebecca hard. She had become the very thing she once despised. Meanwhile, at Michael's Cambridge home, the triplets were experiencing their first taste of fame. The morning news programs wanted to interview them. Social media was filled with supportive messages. Even their school principal called to offer encouragement. "Good Morning America wants the boys on tomorrow's show," Kayla told Michael as she hung up the phone. "Absolutely not," Michael replied firmly. "They've been exposed enough already." "I agree," Kayla said. "I just can't believe how quickly this has grown." That video has 20 million views now. In the living room, Mason, Miles, and Max sat together on the couch, watching cartoons as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Their innocent action had created a nationwide conversation about wealth, power, and family values. "Dad," Max called, "are we going to lose the restaurant?" Michael sat beside them. "We're doing everything we can to prevent that. But remember what I said. The Harvest Table isn't just a building, it's the people and the food we create together." "But our special room," Miles said sadly. "We just got it. We'll make another one," Michael promised, "wherever we end up." That evening, as the family ate dinner together, the doorbell rang. Michael answered to find Rebecca Wilson standing alone on his doorstep. Gone were her designer clothes and perfect makeup. She wore simple black pants and a gray sweater, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. "What are you doing here?" Michael asked, automatically stepping forward to block any view of his family inside. "I need to speak with you," Rebecca said. Her voice lacked its usual commanding tone. "And with Kayla." "Please." Michael hesitated, then called over his shoulder. "Kayla, Rebecca Wilson is here." Kayla appeared beside him, her expression guarded. "How did you find this address?" "I have resources," Rebecca admitted. "May I come in?" "Just for a few minutes." After a brief silent exchange with Kayla, Michael stepped aside. They led Rebecca to the kitchen, away from the boys who were finishing their dinner in the dining room. "Say what you came to say," Michael said coolly. Rebecca took a deep breath. "First, I want to apologize. My behavior has been inexcusable. You tried to destroy our restaurant and exposed our children to public scrutiny," Kayla said. "Why would we believe your apology is genuine?" "You have no reason to," Rebecca acknowledged, "but I'm hoping you'll listen anyway." She sat at the kitchen table, looking suddenly vulnerable. "My father was a cruel man," she began, "particularly in restaurants. He used his wealth to humiliate servers, send back perfectly good food, demand special treatment. As a child, I would watch him reduce waiters to tears, and I promised myself I'd never behave that way." Michael and Kayla remained standing, listening cautiously. "But somewhere along the way, I became exactly like him," Rebecca continued. "When you stood up to me, Michael, it triggered something. A fear of appearing weak, the same fear my father instilled in me. So I reacted with everything I had, trying to prove my power." "Your personal history doesn't excuse what you've done," Michael said. "No, it doesn't," Rebecca agreed. "Nothing excuses it. But your son's video forced me to see myself through others' eyes. My own family is disgusted with me. My company is suffering. And for what? Because I couldn't admit I was wrong about a fish dish." A small noise from the doorway made them all turn. The triplets stood there watching with curious eyes. "You're the mean lady from the restaurant," Miles said plainly. Rebecca flinched at the description. "Yes, I am, and I'm here to apologize to your parents. I did something very wrong." Max stepped forward. "You made everyone sad." You tried to take away our dad's restaurant. I know, Rebecca said quietly, and I'm very sorry. Mason studied her face carefully. Are you really sorry, or just pretending? Rebecca looked directly at the observant boy. I'm really sorry, Mason. I made a big mistake and I want to fix it. Michael was surprised she knew which triplet was which. Boys, please go finish your dessert. We need to talk with Miss Wilson privately. After the boys left, Rebecca continued. I came here to make you an offer. I want to withdraw the eviction notice and sell you the building at fair market value with favorable financing terms. Why would you do that? Kayla asked suspiciously. Because it's the right thing to do, Rebecca answered. And because I need to make amends, not just for my public image, but for myself. You expect us to believe this sudden change of heart? Michael questioned. I also propose a public reconciliation event at the harvest table, Rebecca continued. I would formally apologize, and we could turn this situation into something positive for everyone. Michael and Kayla exchanged skeptical glances. This feels too convenient, Kayla said. Your company's stock is dropping, your sponsors are leaving, and suddenly you want to make amends? Rebecca nodded. You're right to be suspicious. But my offer stands regardless of your participation in any public event. The building is yours if you want it. No strings attached. We'll need time to consider this, Michael said. Of course, Rebecca replied, standing to leave. My attorney will contact yours tomorrow with the formal offer. Whatever you decide about the public reconciliation, I understand. After Rebecca left, Michael and Kayla sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Do you believe her? Kayla finally asked. I'm not sure, Michael admitted. People can change when they see themselves clearly for the first time. But this seems extreme. Should we accept her offer for the building? Kayla asked. We should at least review it, Michael said pragmatically. If the terms are favorable, it would solve our immediate problem. And the public reconciliation event? Michael considered this. That benefits her image more than ours, but it might provide closure for everyone, including the boys. They called Sarah and Tony to get their perspective on Rebecca's apparent change of heart. Both were cautiously optimistic. The staff would welcome an end to this conflict, Sarah reported. Everyone's exhausted from the stress. But we shouldn't trust her completely, Tony warned. She could have another agenda. Later that night, after putting the boys to bed, Michael and Kayla continued their discussion in the living room. If we accept her offer, Kayla suggested, we should add our own condition. Something that proves she's genuinely changed. What did you have in mind? Michael asked. Rebecca could participate in a charity event supporting single-parent families, Kayla proposed, not just with money, but with her actual time and presence. If she's willing to do that, I'll believe her change is genuine. Michael smiled. That's perfect. It addresses the very issue she exploited in her attacks against us. The next morning, Michael called Rebecca's attorney to accept the building offer with their added condition. By afternoon, Rebecca had agreed to their terms without hesitation. She said she'd be honored to support the charity event, Diane reported after speaking with Rebecca's lawyer. She even suggested expanding it to include cooking classes for single parents and their children. That's actually a good idea, Michael admitted, surprised by Rebecca's enthusiasm. 3 days later, Rebecca's attorney delivered the building purchase documents to Diane's office. The terms were exactly as promised: fair market value with favorable financing and a reasonable monthly payment that would cost less than their previous rent. It seems legitimate, Diane confirmed after reviewing everything. She's actually giving you a better deal than you had before. As Michael signed the final documents, he couldn't shake a lingering worry. Had Rebecca truly changed, or was this elaborate performance just another strategy in a game they didn't fully understand? That evening, as Michael cooked dinner with the triplets helping as his assistant chefs, Kayla watched them with a mixture of joy and caution. Their family had formed under the strangest of circumstances, brought together by conflict. Now that the conflict appeared to be resolving, what would their future look like? "Dad, can I add more salt?" Miles asked, standing on a step stool beside Michael at the stove. "Just a tiny pinch," Michael instructed. "Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it out once it's in there." Kayla smiled at the simple cooking lesson that seemed to contain so much more: patience, restraint, the understanding that some actions can't be undone. As they sat down to eat the meal they'd prepared together, Kayla pushed aside her worries about Rebecca. Whatever happened next, they would face it as a family. 6 months later, the harvest table stood transformed. The morning sunlight streamed through large windows as Michael Anderson inspected the new addition to his restaurant. Where once there had been only a dining room and kitchen, now a spacious culinary academy occupied the neighboring space. "The first class starts tomorrow," Kayla said, joining Michael in the empty teaching kitchen. 15 teenagers from South Boston High School. They're so excited. Michael smiled, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. "Are you ready, Director Johnson?" "I think so," Kayla replied, leaning into him. "I never imagined running an education program. But these kids deserve a chance to learn skills that can change their lives." The 6 months since Rebecca Wilson's surprising change of heart had brought remarkable changes. Michael now owned the building, thanks to the deal Rebecca had honored without any tricks or hidden clauses. The restaurant had expanded, adding the Harvest Table Culinary Academy for underprivileged youth, Kayla's vision that Michael had fully supported. "Dad, look what I made!" Miles called, rushing into the teaching kitchen. At 7 years old now, his boundless energy remained unchanged. He proudly held up a plate with carefully arranged cookies decorated to look like tiny chef hats. "These are impressive," Michael said, examining his son's work. "Your decorating skills are getting better every day." "Elena helped me with the white frosting," Miles admitted, referring to the pastry chef who had taken a special interest in nurturing his creative talents. Mason appeared in the doorway, his expression serious as always. "Tony says the fish delivery is wrong. He needs you in the main kitchen." "Tell him I'll be right there," Michael replied, ruffling Mason's hair affectionately. Of the 3 boys, Mason had shown the strongest interest in professional cooking. Most mornings, he arrived at the restaurant early with Michael to help with preparations, absorbing techniques and terminology with remarkable focus for a 7-year-old. "Where's Max?" Kayla asked. "In the office with Sarah," Miles answered. "They're working on the computer." Max, the analytical triplet, had developed an unexpected aptitude for the business side of the restaurant. Sarah had begun teaching him how to use the reservation system, and he often suggested surprisingly practical improvements. Michael headed to the main kitchen to resolve the fish delivery issue, passing through the dining room where workers were hanging a banner that read, "1-year anniversary celebration, tonight." In the kitchen, Tony gestured toward crates of fish. They sent Mediterranean sea bass instead of local bass. The menu specifically features New England bass with local herbs. "Call them immediately," Michael instructed. "We need the correct delivery by noon. If they can't do it, send Marco to the fish market directly." "Already on it," Tony assured him. "Everything else is on track for tonight." The anniversary dinner had been Michael's idea, a way to commemorate the confrontation that had unexpectedly changed all their lives. Regular customers, staff, and even Rebecca Wilson would attend. In Sarah's office, Max sat beside her at the computer, watching intently as she managed the reservation list. "We have 142 confirmed guests for tonight," Max reported when he saw Michael. "That's 14 more than the dining room usually holds." "That's why we're opening the teaching kitchen area too," Michael explained. "For the first time, we'll use both spaces together." "Smart," Max nodded approvingly. "Maximum efficiency." Michael smiled at his son's business-minded observation. "Would you like to help Tony and me plan the seating arrangement?" Max's eyes lit up. "Yes." By mid-afternoon, the restaurant buzzed with preparation activity. Staff members hung photos around the dining room, images capturing moments from the past year. There was a picture of the triplets in their special room, now converted into a children's dining area for families. Another showed Kayla teaching a cooking class to single parents, part of the charity initiative that Rebecca Wilson had genuinely embraced. "The flowers just arrived," Elena called from the entrance, "and the photographer will be here at 5. Michael checked his watch. "Perfect. We'll start seating guests at 6. In the staff room, Kayla helped the triplets change into the special outfits for the evening, child-sized versions of Chef White's for Mason, a creative black and gold ensemble for Miles, and a miniature suit for Max. "Mom, is the mean lady really coming tonight?" Miles asked as Kayla adjusted his collar. "Ms. Wilson isn't mean anymore," Kayla corrected gently. "She made mistakes and then worked hard to fix them. Remember the cooking classes we did for families at the community center? She helped make those happen. She gave me books about restaurant management," Max added. "People can change when they learn from their mistakes," Kayla explained. "That's an important lesson." At precisely 5:30, Michael gathered the entire staff for a pre-service meeting. Servers, line cooks, dishwashers, hosts, and everyone who contributed to the harvest table stood in a circle. "1 year ago today, something happened in this dining room that could have destroyed everything we worked for," Michael began. "Instead, it became the foundation for something even better. Every person in this circle played a part in that transformation." He gestured to the triplets, who stood proudly beside Kayla. "My sons taught me that family can come into your life when you least expect it. Kayla showed me what true strength looks like, and all of you demonstrated loyalty that can't be bought or sold." "Group hug!" Miles shouted, breaking the solemnity of the moment and making everyone laugh. As the staff dispersed to their stations, the first guests began to arrive. Regular customers who had supported the restaurant through the difficult times were seated first, many bringing cards and small gifts to celebrate the anniversary. At 6:15, Rebecca Wilson arrived. Unlike her first visit, she came without an entourage, dressed elegantly but not ostentatiously. The restaurant briefly quieted as she entered, but Rebecca seemed untroubled by the attention. "Good evening," Michael greeted her at the door. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for including me," Rebecca replied sincerely. "It means a great deal." To everyone's surprise, the triplets approached Rebecca without prompting. "We saved you a special table," Mason told her, gesturing toward a beautifully set table near the center of the room. "And I made you a welcome cookie," Miles added, presenting her with a heart-shaped cookie decorated with the words, "New Friend." "That's very kind," Rebecca said, clearly touched by the gesture. "Thank you." As the evening progressed, the restaurant filled with laughter and conversation. The special menu featured refined versions of comfort foods, representing the blend of sophistication and warmth that had become the harvest table's signature. At 8 o'clock, Michael tapped a glass for attention. The room quieted as he moved to the center of the dining area. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," he began. "This anniversary celebrates more than a viral video or a business success. It celebrates the power of standing up for what's right and the unexpected gifts that can come from difficult moments." He acknowledged various people, his loyal staff, regular customers who had defended the restaurant online, and local chefs who had shown solidarity. "I also want to thank Rebecca Wilson," Michael continued, surprising many guests. Rebecca could have maintained her anger, but instead she chose a path of reconciliation that benefited many families through our community programs. Rebecca nodded in acknowledgement, a small smile on her face. "But most importantly," Michael said, his voice softening, "I want to honor the woman who built a beautiful life for our sons while I was pursuing my career elsewhere, who worked multiple jobs to provide for them, who taught them values I could only hope to reinforce." He turned to Kayla, who sat with the triplets at a table near the front. "Kayla Johnson came into my restaurant 3 years ago looking for a job. She found it, but I found so much more when I finally opened my eyes to see her." Michael walked to Kayla's table and knelt beside her chair. The room fell completely silent as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "Kayla," he said, opening the box to reveal a ring. "You've been the heart of this restaurant even before I knew it. You've been the heart of our family even when I wasn't there. Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears filled Kayla's eyes. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes." The triplets erupted in cheers as Michael slipped the ring onto Kayla's finger. The entire restaurant joined in the celebration, applauding as Michael embraced his new fiancée. Later, as dessert was served, Michael invited everyone to join them for a group photograph beneath the new sign that had been installed that morning. The sign read, "The Harvest Table, where everyone has a place." Staff members, regular customers, the triplets, Kayla, Michael, and even Rebecca Wilson gathered together. The photographer captured the moment as Michael looked around at the community that had formed around his restaurant. In the back of the room, unnoticed by the celebrating crowd, a famous food critic made notes on a small pad. She had come anonymously to observe the anniversary dinner, intrigued by the story that had captured national attention. Her review, which would appear in the Boston Globe the following Sunday, would describe the Harvest Table not just as an excellent restaurant, but as a model for how businesses could serve as anchors for community and family. As the evening wound down, the triplets fell asleep in their special corner, exhausted from the excitement. Michael and Kayla stood together looking at their sleeping sons. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when Rebecca Wilson first complained about her fish?" Kayla asked softly. "Never," Michael admitted. "I was just trying to defend my restaurant and my staff. I had no idea I was finding my family." Kayla leaned her head against his shoulder. "Sometimes the most important ingredients are the ones you don't plan for." Michael smiled, watching as the last guests said their goodbyes, as staff members began the closing routine, as Rebecca Wilson stopped to place a business card in the donation box for the Culinary Academy. What had begun as a confrontation had transformed into a community, proving that even the most bitter conflicts could, with enough care and patience, become the foundation for something nourishing and good. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.